My father told me that the holes in a flute are what allow it to make music. Music represents life. That's why our hearts have beats. Now, these holes can be representative of challenges that we have. See, the holes can be covered or uncovered to make different sounds, sounds that make a song. In Hinduism, our holy book is called the Bhagavad Gita, which literally means the song of the Lord. Lord Krishna played the flute to attract maidens. So when you think about our holes and our challenges, what can we do to attract what we want? Well, my first hole actually started with a crown. I was honored to be the first ever Miss India Universe in 1990. The pageant, now called Miss India Worldwide, has been globally dazzling audiences for over 30 years. But my aunt signed me up because I'm tall. But I was the goofball that went to rehearsals in long underwear and glasses, never really thinking about world peace. But once I won Miss India Illinois and Miss India USA, then worldwide, I was told I had to make an impact. I had to define my legacy. So what was I going to do? In December of that year, I was sent to India. And the population of India was 850 million people. Zero population growth was an initiative, and I thought I can do something about this. So I went into the villages with a white van, a bodyguard, and condoms to speak to the men about only having 2 children. Okay, it was horrible. I was crying. They looked at me like I had 3 eyes. I did not know what I was doing. I went back to my aunt's house and said, I can't do this. Yet I was so grateful for the opportunity. So I thought, you know what? What can come from me? So I went back to my ambassador and I spoke to the women. And, she said, I wanted to speak to the women. Instead of condoms, I give ovulation watches and calendars, and this was more authentic to me. These women were just so blessed to have this information and be empowered. Now, during my pageant days, I learned a lot. But this example, the to us, for us, and from me. See, when things happen to us, we're a victim. We have that victim mentality, oh, woe is me. But when things happen for us, it comes from a place of gratitude. And when things happen from us, that is the most amazing because we're of service and we're a creator. And when that from is with a collaboration, that's the best. Because during these pageant days and my travels, I met Indian women from so many places around the world. They had different accents and different cultures and had different social norms and behaviors, but they looked like me. So I was obsessed. I thought, what is appropriate? And I became certified in global protocol and etiquette. I started teaching corporate leaders and C-suite executives about these soft skills. Well, a friend of mine who owned a not-for-profit said, Simi, why don't we use the basics and work with children? Let's instill some confidence in this. So 7 to 12 years of age, Chicago public school children, I taught. Everything from voice projection, eye contact, how to set a table, how to read a table map. They were amazing. You could just see them blossom with this information. Until one day, the executive director came to me, and she said, Simi, we have to stop. I said, why? The kids love it. She said, even though the kids love it, the parents were intimidated. They were apprehensive. They had never learned this growing up, so they didn't know how to share in this with their children. I thought, oh my God, I was livid. I'm getting fired for pro bono work. So a lot of times when I'm upset, I shut down. I shut down and I write because it helps me to breathe. So if you see, the holes in the top of a pen cap actually are there so that the pen can shut and breathe. So back to the to you, for you, from you, I thought this was happening to me, but I'm grateful to be able to share this with the children. So from me, I collaborated with a friend of mine, and we wrote The World of Wonder. It's a guide on etiquette for children. It's very simple, but what's nice about it is that the kids could take this home and share in the experience with their parents. So now we were back. We were teaching again. A dear friend of mine who read this book works in hospice. And she said, Simi, can you write a book, a guide on grief for children? And I said, absolutely, because you see, this really struck a chord with me. Kind of a note in my song of life. I could have used this book 2 years before, because after a major surgery, I flatlined. And I'll never forget the effect it had on my children. And I'll never forget my son's eyes. On October 2nd, 2017, I was diagnosed with lung cancer. It literally took my breath away. I was told I needed a lobectomy. I would have a huge hole near my heart. Well, I was texting a friend of mine that I needed a lobectomy, and spell check changed it to lovectomy. Divine intervention? I don't know. But my issue at that moment was branded from Simi having a lobectomy to Simi's lovectomy. And the people that loved me vowed to fill the hole in my heart with love. So, even though the cancer happened to me, it was actually for me, as I learned some very valuable lessons. I call it my Holy Trinity. The first is that I didn't really tell anybody that I was sick, my treatment initially, and I remember my parents didn't want anybody to know. But once meal trains and cards and friends started visiting and letters, I was overwhelmed with the love. So my first lesson is welcome all the love that you can, because it helps in the healing. The second is that we have family all over the world. And my parents, my husband, my sister, they were overwhelmed with all the calls and how is she doing and is she going to make it? And it was too much. So my sister set up a private Facebook page called Simi's Lovectomy. And my husband and my sister were able to share what was happening with my treatment and how I was doing. Well, at 3 o'clock in the morning, when I slept sleeping up and I couldn't breathe and I would have panic attacks because I was scared, I would go to this page. And it was awesome because it was people that loved me, and there was memes and there was pictures and there was words of encouragement that kept me going. So use technology. Even PayPal helped. People were sending me money. I was like, great. So whatever it takes. And the last is question everything. I had 14 consults. Never had a 49-year-old non-smoker, no history in her family presented with cancer. So everyone had a different opinion about what was happening to my health. And I questioned everything, because before, during, and after surgery, if I hadn't, I wouldn't be here today. One of the things that I didn't realize is after surgery, I was given painkillers. And oh, did I love them. Before my painkillers, my nickname was AAA. I was a workaholic. I was that person that never took a maternity break, that went on vacation with her family and was always on the computer or on the phone or working and driving them crazy. And now I was different. I would lay in our bed and I would have an audience in front of me, and I really didn't have a filter. I was just funny. And I would say things like, Percocet is my new BFF. I would lay here all day if I didn't have to pee. Constipation blocks my farts. Like, it was just funny. And then one day my daughter walked in and I realized that I had to get back to my life. So I tried to wean myself off. But how hard could it be? Getting off the opioids was harder than the cancer. You see, with a PhD in public health, you would assume that I would know that this is a major epidemic. You would assume that we know that 167 people are dying a day. That after 4 days, you're addicted. I had a 90-day supply. And that it's a brain disease. So I started researching this. I looked for alternatives from devices, diagnostics, pharmaceutical options. I looked at mindfulness approaches and different methodologies, and then anyone that would listen, I started to educate. I went to schools, I did keynotes. I talked about this because people didn't understand that somebody like me could get addicted, that had a similar chemical composition of heroin, and I would have been that person if I didn't have the love and the support and the education. So it really hit a note. And after this issue of the opioids, I realized that the opioids were given to me for pain. But for me was the addiction, so I could understand how hard it was. And from me came the lectures, came the speaking opportunities. Now, this to me, for me, from me mentality has made me what I am today. My holes, my challenges really are who you are if you use them. I've become a speaker. I've become an author. I've become a consultant that looks at issues not from one perspective, but collaboratively. My company doesn't look at problems in organizations as from a victim perspective, is why is this happening? How can we use this? How can we work for better outcomes for the organization? We also co-founded a not-for-profit called Mission Neem. Mission Neem is a 501c3 that actually started back in India, where 600,000 women plant holes in the ground to make neem trees. These neem trees are used for antibacterial properties. They're used in animals, in animal health, in beauty and wellness, and in agriculture. So using this idea of to me, for me, from me, with the holes, is a way that I've been able to define my legacy. And if you think about it, we all have holes. We all have challenges in our life. You know, holes can be bad. They can be a gunshot wound. You can be punching a hole in the wall. You can be called a butthole. Holes can be good. When you're playing golf, a hole in one. Or it could be playing cornhole at a barbecue, or a holy cow moment. Maybe that's because I'm Indian, it resonates, I don't know. But whatever your holes, whatever your challenges, when you're going through something, maybe go around it, create that hole, because it might help you to breathe. Don't let your challenges or your holes silence you. Allow them to make a sound, make a song, and sing. Another concept is when you stop being a victim with these holes. Make sure that you feel fortunate, that they're for you. And when we think of service and collaboration and giving, it's for reasons outside myself. So use your holes. Use your challenges. My holes can sing. Can yours?